Showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix and LK Mason.
Give them that flavor.
What is going on, y'all? This is GCOM Radio on iHeartRadio, and this is your host, Nova Phoenix. We are back again with another episode, man. Another episode. Hold on, let me get my water. I got my ice cold water. Some say it's not cool to drink ice cold water for the vocals. That's what singers say, because it freezes the vocals, right? But I like my water ice cold, you know. Man, it's so cold. It just came out of the freezer, man. I had to break it up a little bit. Break up the ice. I love cold water. Yeah, and I did the last time. I was getting all fancy schmancy with my tea, my herbal tea. But this particular herbal tea, I don't know, was drying me out, and I was chapping a lot. So you know what? Let me just go with this cold water. You know what I mean? So we just gonna get into the show, man, and not waste any time. Oh yeah, before we do, I heard some things that was going on with in Sudan. A lot of people got killed for, I don't know. I have to do the research on it. It'd be good to talk about, and because if major news doesn't report it, then it doesn't exist. So if I can do what I can do on this podcast and talk about it, and for whoever who's listening, spread the word. It's important. It's going on in the motherland, and it's cool to kind of channel in any type of news that's happening over there, so we can stay keyed in. The worst thing you could do is not talk about it at all, and you don't know that it's happening. So next week I'll get into that. But I have some topics that I want to go over. So remember last week when I spoke about cancer and the business of cancer, and how they wouldn't make a cure because they wouldn't make any money in the pharmaceutical business, and I didn't really have any background information. It's just what people say. Because people are really stressed and concerned about the spread of cancer, pancreatic cancer, throat cancer, all types of cancer, lung cancer. It's widespread. So it's funny, as the days went on after the show, I bumped into this article again, and I read it was on the Washington Post, I think. Let me see here. Yeah, it's on the Washington Post. And it's funny that this came up after I spoke about cancer, because here we are, this article, the author that wrote this, the writer that wrote this, was talking about this time Alzheimer's disease, and how this one particular drug is doing so well. The company that is distributing the drug, Phizer, is dumping it. Dumping it, you say? Why would they do this? I don't know why, and I'll make that my official statement. But they're saying that Embrel, it's spelled Embrel. It's a powerful anti-inflammatory drug that appears to reduce the risk of Alzheimer's by 64%. And they're making this judgment off the results of analysis of hundreds of thousands of insurance claims. So now there was a committee that was put together to review this information, and they gathered all this data, and it came to their attention that the data was inconclusive, and it was all wrong, and so they decided to not deal with the drug anymore. Yes, they decided not to deal with the drug anymore. Now it's funny, the researchers within this committee said, well, some researchers want to do. Well, let me back up here. So within this committee in Phizer, as they were going through all this data, they said, you know what, in order for us to make sense of this data, we have to go through clinical trials. One portion of the researchers want to go forward full thrust. Another portion of researchers are saying, no, we don't want to do that. It's too expensive. It'll cost about $80 million to do clinical trials of 3,000 to 5,000 people. So they decided against it. So these researchers decided not to push it forward. Interesting. But then you have the medical community outside. Some of them are saying, wait a second, why don't you just put out this data anyway? And Phizer says, to rebuttal, they're saying, no, we don't want to do that because the results may lead the outside researchers down the wrong path, and it'll turn out that all this data is invalid anyway, and it won't get anywhere. And actually, they said one of the excuses was, I quote, Phizer further claimed that the internal reviews showed that the review data did not show promise because of the drug didn't reach brain tissue directly. That's their medical excuse for it. And other doctors are saying, no, put it out. This one particular doctor, Rudolph E. Tanzi, a leading Alzheimer's researcher and professor at Harvard Medical School and Massachusetts General Hospital, said, why wouldn't you put out the data? Even if you feel that this data, it doesn't work for you, let this data out anyway so we can do our own research and see if we could come to a better understanding, or maybe come up with a better design of this drug by us, getting our hands in it. They're saying they're not going for it. And even another doctor, his name is Keenan Walker. He's an assistant professor of medicine at Johns Hopkins, who is studying inflammation and how inflammation contributes to Alzheimer's. And he was like, this would be a benefit to the scientific community to have this data out there. I don't know why they're not putting it out. Now, this is the reason why I was even talking about cancer. How, as we know, they're not going to put out a cure because they're not going to stand to make any money off of it. So Phizer got the rights to market it internationally when it acquired the drug from this company, from this drug maker called Lyfe in 2009. And in 2018, Phizer made about $2.1 billion off of it. And the reason why, another reason why they do not want to do the research or do the clinical trials, because now the patent is up, there's going to be generic competition out there, and why are we going to dump all this money into this drug, Embrel, if, the patent is up and people are going to start copying it, and, we'll be losing money. Losing money. Interesting. It's funny, right, when the business community will tell you right to your face the very reason why they're not pushing the drug forward. And they're not trying to hide it. They're not trying to candy coat it, even though they tried to do it by that medical flim-flam saying, oh, it's not going to have the best effect on the brain, and blah, 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 whatever the excuse they said. But it's funny how they're telling on themselves, even in this instance, by saying, well, the patent is up and it's not going to make any more money. So because there's going to be all this generic competition out there. So, we're just going to put it to the wayside. What? Do you understand what you're saying? You're saying, forget the hundreds of thousands of people that die from Alzheimer's disease. I think on a yearly basis, I think they say about 500. I don't want to say. Several people suffer, several hundreds of thousands of people die or suffer from Alzheimer's, and how they're saying that they're not going to push the drug forward or release any of the data to other researchers because it's not going to make them money. And when you break it down to business terms, yeah, I could get it. I understand from a business point of view if it was a pair of socks. Because if it was a pair of socks, all right, somebody puts it on their feet. We don't want to put it out. We had the trademark on it. No, we don't. But these are human lives we're talking about. Human lives, families destroyed, families suffering in pain because their own family member, mother or father, is afflicted with this disease, but you choose not to do it because it's not gonna be good for your bottom line. You have to be beholden to the shareholders, or the stocks might tumble. There's something seriously wrong with humanity when we can quantify human health, whether good or bad, to a number. And we're willing to let people suffer because it does not serve our own personal self-interest or our business interest. Now, the funny thing is, Phizer picked up another drug. It's called Xeljanz. It's Xeljanz. They say it works differently from Embrel, but they're about to put the serious marketing muscle behind it because this is the new thing that's taking place, right? And they're saying that Embrel is supposedly losing revenue, so they're going to replace that with Xeljanz. And the patent is going to expire in 2025. And it's also going to, the patent is going to expire in 2025 in the United States and 2028 in Europe. The pharmaceutical business is a global business. And I saw these numbers before when I was doing some research on it, light research. And to see the numbers on what the pharmaceutical companies make on a global scale, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And this just goes to show, again, this ties into every ailment that we suffer from, and it makes you think when you're sitting on your the doctor's chair or table or whatever, the bed, and he's giving you these drugs and he's just throwing them out at you, and you find out they're too powerful or they're too weak, and he's basically trying to figure out if this is going to help you. You know what I mean? It's the sinister business behind the curtain. When you read this article, it's the sinister business that makes you think, wait a second, are you really looking out for my own health, doc? Or are you just pushing these drugs? And you know, the funny thing is, pushing drugs. I forgot the name of this drug dealer that they've been talking about on the news. He was downtown Brooklyn, Supreme Court. I forgot the name of this guy. And they're talking about that he might escape, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, wait a second. You worried about this Mexican cartel or wherever he's from, South American cartel? And we got drugs that's being peddled to the millions and millions of people in this country. And we're talking about Phizer not wanting to put Embrel. It's doing well for dealing with Alzheimer's disease, but they don't want to put it out because it's doing too well and the patent's coming up to its expiration date, and it's gonna. And we're worried about some Mexican cartel? Man, where are we at? Where are we at in this world? I tell you, man. I tell you. It's confusing to me how people don't see this, the general public, and I'm surprised it's not pitchforks and torches like at every hospital or pharmaceutical company. Like, wait a second, you worried about that guy? You worried about the weed guy? And that weed is illegal on the federal level, not on the state level. Or no, the state is pushing for it to be criminal for marijuana, but the federal government's trying to pass it. And you have this political football that's being thrown around, and literally you have drugs that are being held back from helping people or being put out to destroy them, all to make money. Opioid, hint, hint. You know what I mean? So there, all these things that are happening with Phizer, with Embrel, with AIDS, with cancer, all of them have a thin red string connected to all of them, and it runs right back to the source, to a few people. A few people. Now, I feel I take it differently. Again, I tie it into Lyfeblood. Don't want to plug it, but it's kind of the same way where I talked about Germany and their electric battery issue. It's the same way I feel about drugs. Just set up an R&D department. I'll campaign it, whatever nonprofit or whatever business entity that wants to do research on specific drugs and wants to get it out to the people, here it is where you can tie in people into doing research on certain drugs or whatever capacity. You let people know on the profile, you tie people in, they see what's happening, and then when it's ready to go, you release it to the public. You put it out there. And then when we get a hold on the disease that's ravaging this country, then we let it go and dismantle it. The same way where Phizer is ready just to let Embrel, the drug Embrel, go. It's the same way, okay, we got a hold on this disease that we've been trying to deal with. Now, all right, it's under control. We're not, it's what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, it's not about just making money, about the bottom line, about quarterly earnings and annual earnings. It's about making sure that society is as healthy as possible, or is as healthy as possible, and then making sure that we can move forward as a people so we can move on to other things. Because we have to worry about cancer instead of worrying about something that's more beneficial health-wise. Man, listen. If we don't see what's right in front of our face, man, I sometimes I have a lack of hope, man. That's where my hope gets drained out of me, because I'm like, let's stop paying attention to all these distractions that we see is in front of us. And here it is, we have little peaks, little moments where these writers put out these articles to let us know what's going on, and these little blips, and then all of a sudden they disappear and we move on to something other that's just totally corny, or total distractions like a booty video, or who's dating who, or how come that couple broke up. It's probably because of this person. It's stupid. At the end of the day, when we push all that stuff aside, we have serious problems as a society. Okay, so folks, that was my thought on that, and we're gonna roll into the next, the first song of the show. And the first song of the show, who we got? I'm gonna make sure I get this right. I don't want to mess up my man's name. His name is Maverick Gawain. He's out of Chicago, but he left, and now he's settled into LA, in California. Good music, man. This brother, it's got some promise, man. His name is Maverick Gawain, and the song is called A Billion Stars. Listen.
Is in your control. Just a word from you can light my world with a billion stars and make my dreams come true.
It's GCOM Radio
I am one of the flyers
on iHeartRadio.
Hey yo, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up in the sun? Does it make you turn to drugs? Does it make you grab a gun? Does it make you wanna kill something? Looking at your little one, cause you don't wanna look like a failure when all them bills come. Make you wanna risk your freedom, make you wanna take the risk, cause you done gave it all you had, the results didn't amount to shit. Does it keep you up at night, eyes glued to the ceiling? Does it make you do less praying and do more wishing? Make you call your girl a bitch, even though she hold you down? Fell in love with your potential, no you can't let her down. Does it make it hard to smile? Does it make your heart bitter? Does it make it hard to accept that you an average nigga? Does it make your soul hurt? Make you want to go to church? Bunch of wasted talent, couldn't figure how to make it work. Does it make you lose hope? Struggle just to stay afloat? Whatever it is, I promise you, I don't wanna know.
Light my world with a billion stars.
What happens to a dream deferred?
Make my dreams come true. Light my world with a billion stars.
What happens to a dream deferred?
Make my dreams come true.
Hey yo, what happens to a dream deferred? Is it heavy like a load? Can it make make you start drinking? Can it make your head explode? Does it make you start blaming people cause they wouldn't support your vision? Told you they would ride or die, turned around to board a mission. And does it make you start hating, afraid to give a nigga props? Make you wanna play the crib, but make you wanna hit the block. Kick it with the younger niggas, talk about your glory days, talking what you used to have, how you used to have it made. Or does it make you go back home, sleeping on your mama couch, work a bullshit job with hope that you gon' make it out? Or does it make you hate the world, turn you to a pessimist, no time spent with your kids, mad fucking negligent? That doesn't make you running high, hoping for some better days, make you start sniffing coke knowing that pain won't go away? Or does it make you lose hope, struggle just to stay afloat? Whatever it is, I promise you, I don't wanna know.
Light my world with a billion stars and make my dreams come true.
What happens to a dream deferred?
With a billion stars and make my dreams come true.
What happens to a dream deferred?
Light my world with a billion stars and make my dreams come true. Light my world with a billion stars and make my dreams come true.
This is GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com. Come join, be a Lyfer. Practice dollar power and build financial independence.
Yes. Okay, we are back. As I always said, good tunes, man. Good tunes. Big ups. All right, so we're gonna get into the second segment. One thing I try to do is put things on timer. I like to keep the show down to a good hour and 10, hour and 15, hour at first, but then if it goes hour and 15, I just don't. I think people lose folks when it comes to the length of their podcast. Nobody's gonna listen to a 2.5 hour, 3 hour podcast. I think an hour is really good, and I say an hour because it's about the length of a commute, because people usually listen to podcasts either in their car or in on the train, such and so forth, and it's about hour and 15 minutes from point A to point B, and they're going to be doing something, right? So they might as well listen to a podcast. So to go on with the topic. All right, folks, so the second segment, we're talking about YouTube, man. So we all know what's going on with Facebook. They're gonna crack down on folks as far as violating their policy. If it's racism, bigotry, or anything else like that, or blah 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 blah, you've seen it. All right, so it got to be a big thing, saying, you know what, they're a private company, they could do what they want. Mark Zuckerberg could do what they want. That's fine. And they kicked off Milo Yiannopoulos, or whatever that guy's name, Yiannopoulos. Who's that other guy? Alex Jones, and they kicked off Mr. Farrakhan, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, it's their own company, right? So you got to suck it up. So now what we have here is YouTube. And an article just came out with YouTube. So YouTube now is going their route and beefing up their security to kind of ban folks too. Take a swig of water. So they're looking to ban folks. All right. So they first said they're going to do it in 3 ways. First, they're going to ban the white supremacists, remove all the Nazis, the extremists, that they want to exclude people based on age, gender, race, blah, 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 right? So nobody's going to argue that. Nobody is going to argue that. All right. So their second step, they said they're going to expand their efforts to get rid of the people that have, quote, borderline content and harmful information. They want to get rid of those people. which they say violates their community guidelines. And what do they say? Oh, so in terms of those borderline content and harmful misinformation some of these YouTubers are having are, say, the flat earthers and the peddlers of phony miracle cures, which is crazy. All right. Look, again, let me just say this. YouTube could do what they want, just like Facebook, right? But then now when you start encroaching on things like this, it's like, you know what? People can say what they want to say, right? If I want to say that I love peanut butter, this particular peanut butter because it comes out of the ass of a salamander from the deserts of, I don't know, of the Sahara, or dung beetles, the way they just roll the balls of crap. They roll the balls of shit, and they make this beautiful peanut butter spread that they must have, right? That's the right for people to say, right? If you get 100,000 subscribers because of that, you get 100. Then you have 100,000 people that want to believe your nonsense and go about and you say, hey, I'm gonna try that peanut butter spread out of the butt of a duck. Why not? Right? I'm just saying. That's their prerogative. My thing is, the best thing is, you don't ban people. You challenge them and come out with your own. Okay, there's a lot of information about, this particular condiment that comes out of the butt of a duck, and it's particular species, and then you lay down and you do your own YouTube video, and there's some of them are on there, like challenges of certain urban myths, right? I can't remember the name, of course, but to ban people, it dangerously flirts with freedom of speech. And again, I understand it's their own business to do what they want. But then that's people's right. And the last thing they're saying, finally, they're saying YouTube is going to restrict channels from people monetizing their videos if they're found to, quote, repeatedly brush up against our hate speech policies. And those channels will not be able to run ads or use super chat, which lets people, channel subscribers pay their creators, right? So again, if I say that, Toe Jam makes is something that you should sniff as crack. I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't know. And again, 200,000 people want to follow me and want to believe me. That's my prerogative. Again, you shouldn't ban people. I'm just saying. I'm just my opinion. You should challenge it and say why that doesn't make sense. The same as a flat earther. I don't understand why people want to believe that flat earth theory. I do not understand. It is totally ridiculous to me. It is asinine. You must have a third grade education for you even to begin to even contemplate earth being flat. But you know what? That's people, man. That's you. I just raised my eyebrow to you saying, all right, man, get out of here. You're wasting my time. You're wasting my energy. And you could go out in your own business and believe the earth is flat, right? Because there's so much information out there to challenge that. Whatever. If it's that bad, you challenge it with science. You challenge it with science. You challenge it by refuting that information and evidence, and you say, hey, this is the opposing evidence. Stop it. All right, this is silly, and you let people come up with their own conclusion and be like, you know what, that was silly. What was I thinking? And people move on. All right, but to ban people, I think it's a lot of information is put through social media, and people want to share it, good and bad. But I think the beautiful thing is that people have a right to say it. All right, no matter what. And the same people that listen to them are the same people that can challenge them. And you should leave it up to masses. Like we have the Twitter FBI, to the Twitterverse. If something happens and it's caught on video, or audio, and you want to find out about a particular person, say is racist, and you can't find their name or something like that, somehow the internet goes at it and sleuths these people out, and you get to find out who their identity is. All right. Or it could be a company or something, some kind of crazy business is happening. Leave it up to the internet to get the information that the people need. Sometimes they faster than the FBI and major news networks. They work fast. You know what I mean? Leave it to the internet. They're gonna find out that person that's doing some craziness. So now, again, like I said, it flirts dangerously with freedom of speech. Now, what keeps, say, YouTube or Facebook, if you really say it's the abortion conversation, and you could say, well, I want abortion because, I believe in the heartbeat thing, and I want abortion. Let's say it like that. And there are some people that side will say, no, that's crazy. Should your opinion be taken off of the internet because you want to believe in something that is a little asinine? Right? Really? I mean, think about it. Or you could say another story, another example is, I don't know, pick up anything that you could think of. I don't know. TV rots the brain, right? Watching 8 hours or 12 hours of TV rots the brain, and it's terrible. If someone believes that, if 100,000 people want to believe that if you watch 12 hours of television and it's going to literally rot your brain, let them believe it. Let them believe it. And the only thing that you can do to counter it is to come up with your own myth buster channel to kind of tackle certain information that's starting to spread out there and go viral. All right? Because once you start taking down people's different ways of thinking, different thoughts, different opinions, now it's like a freedom of speech. Now, I said this to one person, and I wholeheartedly believe that a private company could do what they want. It's their own community guidelines that they can abide by. It's their land, their digital land. But again, it's a problem. And one person was like, no, well, of course, this is what's going to happen. One person was telling me that then go someplace else. If you don't like what YouTube is doing, go someplace else. And I think that's what's going to happen, because if you have the establishment social media sites like YouTube, like Facebook, like all the others, like Twitter, that starts to hold to their community guidelines, what's going to happen is people are going to start leaving, and they're going to start to try to find their own sites that they feel comfortable in to say what they want to say. And I think just like how, again, I was talking about in my last show, that you're going to have streaming sites, all these streaming companies are pulling their property off of Netflix, and you have DC, the DC Universe streaming site, and you have Disney Plus, and you have Amazon Prime, and all these other streaming services, and these companies doing it. It's going to be kind of like the same respects. The internet is going to be a place where people are going to find their own comfort zones where they can say what they want to say. And it's going to be, you can think of another company. It's going to be, I don't know, Bulu.com. It's going to be YouTube. You know what I mean? And they're going to do their own thing. And you're going to have people gravitate towards that. So, yeah, Facebook and YouTube are going to lose members. To lose members to the point where they're going to go belly up? I don't think so. But what I'm going to think is that you're going to start finding an equilibrium that people are not going to all rush these quote-unquote establishment social media sites, and they're going to find solace in their own places. So instead of like 1 billion people on Facebook, you probably have 750 million or 600 million. And then you're gonna this other unknown site is gonna have 150 million subscribers, and that site is gonna have 100 million subscribers, and that other site C is gonna have 250 million subscribers, and everybody's gonna find their place. Now, how it's going to be a busy place, and the internet is already busy, but you're going to find a lot more branded social media sites where people can go to, because if they're being alienated on these other sites, they're going to start gravitating to ones where they can find comfort and be at home. So, look, YouTube is going to do their thing, and Facebook is going to do a thing, and it could be Twitter, and it's going to be IG, and then it's going to be Reddit, and then they're all going to they're going to take a stand in the next 2 years, 3 years, and that's fine. But know this, people will hop off and they'll go other places. And I think that would be a good outcome. for us not to put so much power into one social media site, where instead of just having a handful of social media sites or 5 like Facebook, there's no other website, social media like Facebook. Instead of like 5 that we keep on rehashing. And I'm walking through the city of New York, and I see a building, and it has the main logos of where their business is located online. They'll have Facebook, they'll have IG, they'll have Twitter, and that's it. And there's a couple of others, but those are the main ones. I'm looking forward to where you could break that up. Well, instead of the 4 or 5 main ones, you're going to have 20. And people are going to find where they feel they're most comfortable. And if they're going to talk that mess, they're going to talk that mess. But like I said, challenge the information. Don't ban people. Challenge the information. Now, again, my last thing before I get off into this next song. Now, how is it different from the major news media when they start throwing out disinformation, right? Because one way where I think one of the reasons why they want to kind of curtail people talking not quote unquote nonsense on social media, and it goes viral and a lot of people start believing it. I think another way is looking at it is controlling where the information is coming from. It's like a lot of the major news channels, they have their own, nice, sugar-coated, pre-packaged information bites that they give out to people. And that's how they control their information. But what's different in the 21st century is the internet, and people have alternate sources to go to find out what's going on in their communities and what's going on around the world. That's one of the main things what is getting these presidents and these shareholders so upset, because now they can't control that information, and they're running people. As a matter of fact, when it comes to social media, people are getting the information before the major news networks can get a hold on it. So, and even when the major news networks feel like they don't want to cover that information, they have no choice, because now it's gone viral and it's bubbling on the internet through social media, through Facebook, through Twitter, through YouTube, and such and so forth. And they have no choice but to cover it. So it's funny how you have a lot of these social media sites trying to control the information. That kind of works out in the favor of the major news media networks, don't you think? Right? Because now where are people going to go? Go right back to the major news media, where they can't get that information. So if I see somebody getting shot on the street by some at a store or something like that, and they're shot because they have a different religion. Now you're gonna have X social media sites saying, well, we can't put that on there because it's not meeting our community guidelines. Now all of a sudden you're limiting where people get their information, and now they're gonna go to the major news sources. So it kind of, in a way, works out for the major news networks, don't you think? So it's funny. I'm interested to find out where the motivations are with these social media sites are talking about. Well, they're not meeting community guidelines. It's just a thought that's coming off of my head, right? Because you can have sometimes that's why I drink water, because my mouth could get dry and got a fat tongue, and sometimes I roll over my words. But you can get disinformation from major news sites too, networks too, on their local channel 11 or whatever channel at 11 o'clock news, right? You can get disinformation there too. I mean, investigative journalism doesn't even exist anymore. So what you have is sensationalism. So you have these folks that represent one side, and the left side, and represent the right side, and they're not talking about. They're not dealing with investigative journalism. They're more trying to just get their word out and kind of sway the masses in the thinking of the people to one side, whether it's left or right. So you're not really doing any of the hard work, the footwork, to figure out why certain things are happening out in the world. They're just stating their opinions and throwing it out there to the people, to the masses, and the people like, you know what? You're right. Without any evidence, without any footwork on going out there and seeing what's going on, and people just swallowing it. So if the major news networks could do that, Are we shutting down channel 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, 11? No, we're not doing that. But yeah, whatever. All right. So the next song that we got going on here. Let's see what we got. And what we got is Ashanti Bragg with Pay Him No Mind. I'm coming up on the tail end, coming out of Miami, Florida, and now in New York City is Michelangelo Divine with 70s. And check these two out.
Shine to Queen, alongside got a flicker. Queen, you gotta tell them this.
Pretty isn't she a sight to behold? Knee highs and thighs, melanin Monroe. Brown skin, cinnamon with a green. Knee deep in dirt, she hold up her chin. Always keep a scheme up her silk sleeve. Easy on the eyes, difficult to please. Each and every night she pray on her knees. God us in the blessing, setting her free. And work, she work hard. She no slob, staying on the job. No Steve, but her steez is setting the bar. So high they can't touch shit, missing they mark. Her tribe throwing them off, they're throwing them off. Oh my God, she's so boss, it's all in the cards. No club, the queen of hearts is paying the cost. And stilettos and lip gloss, cause going so hard. Leave a lame thirsty and starved like. Pay him no mind. Pull up in the whip one time. And if they hate then leave it outside. Can't sit here, can't ride.
Listen up.
You're listening to GCOM Radio.
In the whip one time. And if they hate then leave it outside. Can't sit here, no, don't can't ride. Ain't nobody perfect, but he oh so close. Don't even blink an eye, your chicken's doing the most. Ain't too many like him, you should raise up a toast. Confidence is evident, he ain't got a boast. Seen a girl lose, trying to make him choose. Only hang with a few, nah, he don't need a clue. And he keep his mouth closed like a wise man do. You need a real woman, they don't understand you. He's just so different, magnificent, your aura. I had a meanest woman doing anything for you. You cut a bird quick, you easily get bored of a chick that can take the stick, but ain't sure of who she really is when the day ends. You ain't no relationships, came with 6 friends. And all like they misguided opinions. You need a natural born leader, not a minion. You need a queen as described on the first verse. I don't mean to be snide, but she's much worse than the baddest bitch that's alive, that's dead hers. She bring you nothing but drama, papa, a life curse. You're something like the finest antique, you're hard to find. Cause you ain't gotta be in no street, you use your mind. A blessed I find rather you need a diamond mine. So let a nigga hate for a fee, pay him no mind, like woo, woo. Pay him no mind. Pull up in the whip one time. And if they hate then leave it outside. Can't sit here, can't ride. Pay him no mind. Just pull up in the whip one time. And if they hate then leave it outside. Can't sit here, no, don't can't ride.
Shine to Queen. We pay them no mind. When the Queen speaks, everybody
Sounding off around the world. You are listening to GCOM Radio.
Colors pulled up outside like it's 1975. She off 1942, you could see it in her eyes. Cause no matter where you are, look, you shine just like a star. When you walk in the room, everybody got their eyes on you. You know what I wanna do. Oh yeah. Ooh yeah. Now feeling this distance between us, I need you. Can we go the distance? And this girl, I mean it's hard not to mention this tension. I spend every dime on my pension to mend it. We all need someone, and this ain't no. You got me writing melodies. Like you straight out of the 70s. Oh, heart so cold, getting cold, are you telling me? Oh, you don't even chase, cause you know I can't evade. Oh, see it in your eyes, girl, it's all over your face. Pulled up outside like it's 1975. She off 1942, you could see it in her eyes. Cause no matter where you are, look, you shine just like a star. When you walk in the room, everybody got their eyes on attention. I spend every dime on my pension to mend it. We all need someone, and this ain't no. You got me writing melodies. Oh, hair all puffed like you straight out of the 70s. Oh, heart so cold, getting cold. Are you telling me? Oh, you don't even change, cause you know I can't evert. Oh, see it in your eyes, girl, it's all over your face. Oh, like you straight out of the 70s.
Okay, that was Ashanti Bragg with Pain With No Mind. And right behind it is Michelangelo Divine with 70s. I love the fro vibe with the car in it, the 70s car. If you get the right video with the sound, oh man, I think it would be a hit. Okay, before we get started, you know what we got going on for the third segment. That is the news you need to know. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Around the world and right in your neighborhood, it's the news you need to know.
Renewology. A company called Renewology created a way to convert plastics to usable fuel. After the founders of the company found out 10% of plastic was being recycled through the traditional recycling processes in recycling facilities, they decided to create a system that current waste facilities could use for their operations. This new system, which can be built on site to the needs of the company, can process up to 10 tons of plastic daily without additional transportation costs. Low-grade single-use plastics, contaminated and mixed-stream plastics are crushed into smaller pieces, and a chemical process changes it into a high-value products used to make virgin plastic, diesel fuel, and petrochemical products. Gases created from this are captured and recycled, so there are no toxic emissions. A Renewology system has been set up as a demo facility in Utah, and a larger scale unit has been installed in Nova Scotia. Several other businesses are committed to integrating this new system into their own facilities. Tooth cavities can be gone. Scientists have created a new product that grows back tooth enamel. Researchers at the University of Washington developed a treatment based on peptides, short chain of amino acids linked by peptide bonds that aren't long enough to be considered full proteins. During their research, when applied, the dental lesions remineralized, healing the tooth. The current means to stave off cavities is fluoride and drinking water with additives. Scientists tested this new treatment against fluoride and discovered it created a new, thicker enamel layer resembling the structure of healthy enamel. Don't get too ahead of yourselves. Serious cavities will still need to be drilled and filled. However, researchers believe this can be used as a preventative method by adding it to toothpaste to help minimize the need for more serious work with your dentist. And that is the news you need to know. We're going into the last segment of the show, and I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about. But then, I caught myself and I was saying, you know what? I had some conversation with some people on When They See Us, the Netflix 4-part by Ava DuVernay. So I said, you know what? I'm going to talk about When They See Us. So everybody knows the story of the Central Park Five: Corey Wise, Antron McCray, Kevin Richardson, Yusef Salaam, and Raymond Santana. Those are the 5 young boys that were arrested in Central Park many years ago when they were 16 and 14. And they were arrested and blamed for the rape of a white woman in Central Park while they were hanging with some folks or people or themselves, whatever. And they got caught up and arrested, and everybody knows the story. If you've seen When They See Us, you know the story. That was crazy, man. It hit me, man. I give it up to all the actors. I don't know all the actors' name that played the 5 young boys, but I'm just want to say the whole crew, from above the line and below the line, and shout out to Ava DuVernay for making this. And I, of course, heard about this for a long time, but this movie just hit me, man. This was, everything about this was just, oh, man. The first episode got me, man. There was a pain in my chest, and I was just like, yo, I'm watching this. And the cinematography was beautiful. I give it up to the cinematographer for shooting some great scenes. And the story, it mentioned so many things when it came to NYPD corruption, racism, classism, when the poor class are being subjected to the worst of how a corrupt system operates, the mob mentality that can develop through the media, as everybody knows, and even back then when Trump was known as a businessman, he put out that full page ad on killing those young boys, and how the mob mentality can take hold. When the story is spun enough, you can see where the minds of the people can go. And another thing that I really liked about the story was not making the victims of this story of the 5 boys, not making them into saints, because everyone was flawed. When it comes to the mother that was shunning her trans daughter, I think, and the son Santana ending up selling drugs because he came off the street, came out of jail, and just couldn't. He wasn't making enough money, or he just couldn't deal with it. He wanted, because he was a felon, it was hard, and he had to struggle, and he ended up going back to jail, and no one was saints. Everyone had flaws to them, and that in essence makes us human. But, it just goes to show that this is not something that just took place in the past. And the thing, I think what gets me so much is that this is not something that would just happen in the past. This happens today. It's very relevant to today, right? Whether it's in Ferguson, whether it's in Florida, in California, in New York, all of these stories are interconnected and related, and they continue today. That to me is what would hurt me, because the fact that this happened to 5 young boys, and you can fast forward through time and see a different face, same situation, and it all starts out with a corrupt cop shooting a young boy or shooting someone, and them getting off, or them going about business as usual. And the other one, the prosecutor, Linda Fairstein, she was the chief of the sex crimes prosecution unit in the Manhattan District Attorney's office, and to see how she was just working, it had nothing to do with justice. It had nothing to do with the truth. It had nothing to do with just doing her job as trying to piece together the story. It had nothing, even when other people challenged her, was saying, wait a second, this story doesn't make sense. She still went in there with her crosshairs on these little boys because she wanted to get somebody. And it's to this day where she, even with the case coming out and the real killer coming forward, rapist coming forward, she still was unapologetic. That's what gets me. She was like, no, they did something. That was the 6th boy. That was one of the boys. And I'm like, what? And it's funny, even when we know these boys went to jail, Because I remember this case when I was younger. I remember it. I was watching it on TV. I remember seeing Trump saying what he did. I read the ad that was in the paper at the time. I read it. I know. I remember. And when them boys are done in jail and the media dies down, you always wonder what happens to the players in the game, the people that set this up, other than the boys that went to jail. And this woman, Linda Fairstein, she put out a number of different books, and made money off of these books. You know what I mean? And got rich off of her name that was in the papers and on TV when these boys was going through the struggle that they were going through. And she was fine, smiling, didn't have a care in the world, went about her life, right? Making money. You know, now there's a story comes out. Now there's a backlash to it. Now, you know, all the publishers are dropping her and, you know, they want to remove her name from certain places and, you know, she's being vilified. But you know what? You have to think about it. What is that going to do? This woman is 72 years old. She lived a better part of her life. The only thing that you can say that you can have true justice on if that woman gets sent to jail for negligence. Or in some way ostracized from society and backs are turned on her and as she goes to jail. But really her losing her book deal and you know, people want to, you know, again, she is getting ostracized to a certain degree, but I'm talking about a full on back turn and like nobody wants to deal with her. But you know, there's going to be still some people going to be dealing with her. And even at 72, you think she really cares? She's getting her pension. She's getting the money she already made from the books that she put out, a number of different books. She good. Is that justice? To me, that doesn't equal what these boys went through. And what about the cop? The cop that in the movie, he was pressuring these boys, or had his guys pressuring these boys, and he was dealing with the killer or the rapist, excuse me, not the killer, the rapist, the same case as the rapist did a couple of months after the fact. And was like, oh, wait a second. What? He didn't put two and two together? He was putting two and two before? So, and it's funny if I remember how the story went. Man, it'd be hard for me to watch that thing again. That they were trying to piece it together even when there were holes in the story. Even when it didn't make sense. The blood that was on this woman was nowhere on these boys. The semen that was found on her body, the DNA was found, nowhere did it match these boys. And even when it was said in court that in all logic that these boys are in no way connected to this rape, they were still charged. And a lot of it because of the video when they said they did these things and they were blaming each other. But there was still, even though you can have video, it still didn't match. The evidence didn't match. The timelines didn't match. It did not match. So there was a benefit of the doubt. There was oh my God. There was a reasonable, excuse me, not benefit, a reasonable a doubt in the case. Maybe I'm mixing up the terminologies, but you know what I'm getting at. If I was part of the jury, I could not do it because I don't know, and I'm sure I don't know the word for word of part of the case, but I know it was explained. None of these boys had their parents with them while they were being interrogated, and to me, as a grown person that's sitting on that jury, how could I even agree? My eyes could not agree with what I see on the video as opposed to the information that's put in before me saying these boys did not have their parents and they were interrogated. They were in the police departments for hours without food. They were pressured. They were beaten. To me, in my mind, I'm like, whoa, wait a second. These boys could have been coerced. Yeah, they're saying they did it, or they saw that person, and that boy saw that boy. But I could not be able to put down a guilty plea. And they were guilty. All those boys, man. And in the last episode, when it came to Corey Wise, that got me, man. That tore me up. When he found out that his sister was killed, man, and he said nobody cares about me. That young man, when he said nobody cares about me, you guys start, that hit me, man. That hit me. And that guard had to hold him like that. And I would feel like I'm all alone. He felt all alone, locked up. His family died. His mother not there. What he was dealing with in the inside as a young boy, 16, locked up with grown men. The pain that young boy was, it hit me deep. It hit me deep, man. And I can't believe there are grown adults that were absolutely fine, that can wake up and eat breakfast in the morning, laugh with their kids, laugh with their family, go to parks under sunny skies, and not even think nothing about these boys or what they went through. It was business as usual. Man, I don't know. Listen, there's law, what's on paper, and there's the will to do right. The will and conviction to do right. I can write down anything on paper and call it law. It's up to the people that create the law to decide if that law is going to have value on the books. And it's going to be treated like the Ten Commandments when it comes to dealing with people. And that movie it was just a reminder of the struggles of the black experience in America, man. And what our parents went through in the 50s and 60s, even our ancestors in the past, how it's still here, man. It's still here. And I'm not gonna make sense of it. And that's a whole nother topic and to discuss. But it's funny how these things still exist today. Even with as much as they want to be kumbaya and hip hop is, connects all races, and hip hop is the pop music of the day, and you can see the accomplishments and achievements of African American citizens in this country, and yet you see people that hold such a hatred towards black folk and just people of color. And that is the nonsense, and that is the foolishness of racism. That is the illogical behavior of bigotry. It makes no sense, man. It makes absolutely no sense. All right. So that is the show. Thank you guys for listening. Go to Lyfeblood.com, start a profile. Oh, please, if you like the show, please donate to it. Go to Lyfeblood NP Sun, and it's letter N, letter P, SUN. Please donate to the show if you want to keep hearing it. We're building this community where we want to expand the community to other folks. And yeah, as I said before, there's gonna come a time where Facebook is going to break up. It will. And then there's going to be a call for people to go on other sites. So Lyfeblood is here. You want to create a new community, a new city. You want to create a new society where we can gather around as forward thinkers and use the best of ourselves and the best technologies that we can create to benefit society and humanity. This is where we're going to start, man. This is where it is. This is where it is. This is the space for you to live as you want. Not just when you're walking about in your communities or your towns or your counties, but how we interact with each other here on Lyfeblood.com, and how we're going to reach out to the folks in the real world and have it a two-way street, because we're not just going to live on the internet. We're living on Lyfeblood.com will just be like Facebook, where people just talking to each other and that's it. We don't see, no, we're going to interact online and we're going to interact out in the real world. All right. So we're going to be in both realms and we're going to figure this out. All right. We're going to figure all of this out. It's time. Are you ready? I know I am. All right, folks. I'm out of here. Later.